All right, good morning, computer applications students. All right, so we're going to work on our first Apply It Excel assignment today. So let's show you where you'll find that in Canvas. All right, we're here on modules, clicking. I want to expand the Excel folder, and so the Excel module 1, creating a worksheet and a chart. So you've got the Learn It section, which you'll read and do on your own, and then the Apply It section here. So Apply It has this one assignment right here. SAM Project A Excel Module 1, creating a worksheet and chart. All right, so we're going to click there. It's going to bring us over to Cengage. All right, so we're here and still have the same. Don't really need to check any of that, so we're going to click Start button. Brings us here. We got two files to work with here. We got our instructions and our start file. So I'm going to download all of those. I'm going to go to my downloads folder, and you'll see those two files are there. I'm going to go ahead and rename my start file. Right click on it, backspace, number 2, which is what the instructions tell us to name it to, press enter. Okay. I'm going to open up the instructions. Enable editing, maximize that, zoom in. I do this mainly so you guys can see it better on your screen. Alright, the getting started section, we did that. That's where we changed our name of our file to _2. So we got the project steps there. So I also need to open up the start file. Enable editing. Alright, so on all of the downloadable Excel documents, there's going to be this tab here this is Cengage's hook into the document so that it can be graded when you upload it. You don't need to change anything on that one. On that worksheet, just leave it just like it is. And so it means we're going to be using this budget summary tab here. Alright, so here's what we're working with. We've got our instructions here too. So I'm going to jump in. So project step 1. Sundar Toth is the director of the Connecticut Field Office for Enviro Energy, an industrial company that manufactures energy producing equipment. He has created a worksheet summarizing the revenue and expenses for the first 3 quarters of the year. He asks for your help in determining what the Connecticut office needs to do to meet the targeted profit goals in the 4th quarter. So go to the budget summary worksheet, cut the worksheet's title from cell I1 and paste it in cell A1 to display the title and its expected location. All right, so step 1. I'm going to go to I1, which is here. I'm going to right click on that and cut it. Then we're going to go over to A1, right click, paste it. Step 1 completed. Step 2, in cell E1, add the text number of so that the completed text appears as number of salespeople. E1. Here is E. and here's 1. So I want to how this works in Excel. In fact, let me give you guys a better view here. I got that expanded so you can see. So Excel, everything is done in columns and rows. So you'll see the columns are labeled A through infinity, and the rows are labeled 1 through infinity. Right? You see, so right up here the columns, as they get higher than Z, they just double up, right? And then as you get past that, it just keeps alternating characters. It can go on and on and on. And these just increase by numbers. So you get your columns and your rows. So when I reference E1, that means I'm looking at column E, row 1. Okay, which is here. So I need to type. So in order to type in this, I'm going to click in here, and I want to type at the beginning. So you can do that a couple of different ways. Inside the cell itself, you just double click into it, go to the front of salespeople, and we're going to type number of space, which is what the instructions told us to do. Another way you can do it, when you have a cell selected, this formula bar here is active, and you can type into this. Like I could have typed number of in this box because I have that cell selected, and it would be the same thing. Alright, so that's good. We are saving that there. Alright, step 2 done. Step 3, enter quarter 1 in cell B7 and quarter 3 in cell B17 and quarter 3 in cell D17. So cell B17, so let me find it, B17, QUARTER1, D17, QUARTER3. Let's save that right there. Alright, 4. In cell G18, enter a formula without a function that subtracts the target revenue, cell F18, from the year-to-date revenue, cell E18. So I'm going to subtract F18 from E18, and I'm going to display it in G18. Alright, so formula without a function. So let me show you how that works. G18 is here, so I select that. I want you to notice when I select a cell up here, this is in this name box here, it actually shows which cell is selected. If I change the cell, it changes this name and it shows different contents. Right now we want to be on G18, and I'm going to subtract E18 from F18 using a formula without a function. Alright, so to create a formula without a function, while you're in the cell that you want the output to display, you're just going to type the equals sign, and then you're going to select the first cell that you want to be in your formula, which in our case is E18. So I'm going to find E18, which is here. I'm going to type a minus or a dash on the keyboard for a minus, and then going to click on F18. So in cell G18, enter a formula out of function that subtracts the target revenue, F18, from E18. That's what we've got selected there. So now that we've got that done, you can tab off of it. You can press enter, either one, and the calculation will happen. Now if I display that, you'll see in my formula bar it's got the E18 minus F18, but in my cell, it actually shows the what the result of that calculation, which in this case is negative 464, right? So the parentheses there are automatically put in by Excel to indicate that that is a negative number, or that number goes below 0. So we're in the, for revenue for that time frame, we're actually under. Good information to know if you're in business, right? That you're not meeting your targets. All right, so we're going to move on to the next one here. Sundar wants to calculate the gross margin for quarters 1 to 3 and the year to date. Provide this information as follows. So we'll do step A first and then step B. I'm going to move that over here so I can see it. In cell B20, enter a formula without a function. So B20, that is here. Enter a formula without a function that divides gross profit for quarter 1 by the revenue for quarter 1. So I'm going to do an equals, and I'm going to choose my numerator in this division situation. So we're we're dividing B19 by B18. So I'm going to choose the cell B19 and type a / for my division symbol. Then I'm going to click on B18. And then I'm going to press enter, and it's going to show us 66%. Which is, what we want to see. We want to see what the gross profit is divided by the revenue. To create our gross margin. All right, so that brings us to the next step here. Fill the range C20 through E20 with the formula in B20 to find the gross margin for quarters 2 and 3 and for year to date. Okay, so here it wants us to expand this out. So we're going to fill the range. So in order, I've got my cell selected. I'm going to move my mouse to the corner here, my pointer, till it turns into this little black cross. I'm going to click, I'm going to hold, and I'm going to drag over these other 3 cells, right? And it takes that formula and it copies it to each one, and it calculates based on the numbers above it. So, nice. Save that right there. Moving on to step 6. Sundar needs to add the cells for each energy product type to calculate the year-to-date sales. Provide this information as follows. So in cell E5, enter the formula that uses the sum function. So now instead of a formula without a function, we're going to use the sum function to total the 3 quarters of gas generators sales, the range B5 through D5. So I'm going to go to E5, and I'm going to use the sum function. All right, I'll show you where that is here on in Excel on the Home tab. Over in the editing group, there is an auto sum feature. So click that, and it automatically selects what's in reasonable proximity near it that it might believe you need to sum up. But notice it chose B5 through D5, which is exactly what our instructions told us, so that is good. So I'm going to press enter there. We're going to use the fill handle to fill the range E6 through E8 with the formula in E5 to find the year to date for the other 3 regions. year-to-date sales for the other 3 regions. Okay. I click on the cell that I want to use the fill handle from, click and drag, and it does the calculation. Alright, step 7. In the cell F5, enter the value, looks like 6 million, to provide the targeted annual sales amount for gas generators. So in F5, that is 6,000,000. 6 million. The commas there really help to show the spaces in that. Alright, step 8. Sundar wants to determine how much revenue each energy product needs to generate in quarter 4 to reach its target for the year. So in cell G5, enter a formula without a function. So in cell G5, enter a formula without a function that subtracts target sales for gas generators from its year to date. So you can click on E5 minus on the keyboard, right? F5, enter. Copy the formula in cell G5 and then paste it in the range G6 to G9 to find out the variances. So it wants us to copy this and then paste it in G6 through G9. And it changed it appropriately to the column and all that it was on. Step 9. Sundar is interested in how much revenue each of the 22 salespeople generates on average in each quarter and for the year to date. Find this information as follows. Okay, so we're going to edit cell B10. To include a formula without a function that divides the total energy sales in quarter 1 by the number of salespeople. Alright, so equals B9 divided by G1. Press enter. Now it wants us to fill the range with a formula from C10 to E10. So I'm going to C10 to E10. Alright, so I want you to see what happened when I did that. See this error here? It doesn't know what's going on there, mainly because the way we did this, we used this number way up here in the formula, but notice what happens when we move on. It doesn't use that again. It tries to use H1, right? Like if I was to type 22 in H1, it would actually be okay. But that's not the better way to do it. we want to use G1 repeatedly over and over here, right? So the way we do that is when we were making this formula to start with, see how it's activated now. I'll click back in there and made it active. I want to make this an absolute value. I want G1 to be an absolute value. So with my cursor next to G1 here in my formula, I'm going to press the F4 key on the keyboard, and notice it inserts these dollar signs there. That makes that an absolute value. So now if I take this and drag it over this, it'll use the value for G1 each time, and it'll calculate it properly. It's a good tip. Absolute value, something you should put in your toolbox. Alright, I am moving on to step 10. Sundar also needs to calculate the operating margin, which is the ratio of operating profit or loss to revenue, and indicates how much the office makes after paying for expenses. So calculate the operating margin as follows. Alright, so in cell B15, I like to find my locations here. B15, I've got it. Divide the operating profit or loss in quarter one. So we're going to divide cell B14 by cell B18. All right, so equals cell B14 divided by cell B18. Use the fill handle to go from C15 to E15. Good. Step 10 complete. Alright, step 11. Sundar wants to include a visualization of the total year-to-date sales separated by region. Insert a chart to provide this visualization as follows. Alright, so a chart, that's cool. So we're going to create a donut chart based on the non-adjacent ranges of A4 through A8 and B4 and E4 through E8. Alright, so I got to find those ranges. A4 through A8 and E4 through E8. So in order to choose non-adjacent ranges, you choose the first range by selecting the text, dragging over it, and then you hold down the control key on your keyboard to choose the next set, E4 through E8. And we want to create a donut chart, so I'm going to insert, and I'm going to go to charts here. And I'm going to choose donut chart. There it is. Enter the total years to date sales by energy as a sales title. So I'm going to change the title here. Total YEAR -TO -DATE. Gotta be careful of your capitalization. Okay, get that done. Resize and reposition the chart so that its upper left corner is in cell I4 and its bottom corner is in cell L18. All right, so it basically will tell us exactly where to put this. And you got to be sure you do it exact, or Cengage will mark it wrong. So we're going to the top upper left corner in cell I4. So I4 is here. So I'm going to move it there and just set the corner of it inside I4. And it wants to put the bottom right corner in L18. So here's L18 is up here somewhere. Maybe drag it down a little more into there. So you just want to make sure that the corners end up in the cells that they tell you. And then we're going to apply style 4 to the chart. So I'll have the chart selected. I've got these styles up here. I'm going to choose style 4. Alright, the last instruction here is hide the grid lines for the budget summary worksheet to make it easier to read. So we're going to hide the grid lines. So I'm going to go over here to view. And right here, see there's a grid lines box under the show group. I'm going to uncheck grid lines. I'm going to click save there. Alright, so we got it done. I'm going to close the document. And I'm going to submit it. Upload it. Make sure the names match and then submit it. Let's see how we did. Here's our report. We need to open it up. $50 out of 50, so we got it done. Got it done as expected. Alright, I'll catch you guys on the next video. It will be Excel, the Module 2, Apply It, SAM Project A, Excel Module 2, Formulas, Functions, and Formatting. Alright, thanks. Have a good day.